The Christmas tree lights twinkled mockingly as I sat in my parents' lavish living room, enduring another holiday gathering filled with thinly veiled disappointment. My mother, Elizabeth, adjusted her pearl necklace while eyeing my worn jeans and simple sweater with barely concealed disdain. Michael, she sighed, using my full name as she always did when preparing for a lecture, don't you think it's time you got serious about your future? You're 35, living in that tiny rental apartment, driving that old Toyota. My sister Victoria chimed in from her perch on the designer sofa. The apartment complex I just bought in Beverly Hills is accepting applications. I could get you a modest unit. With a family discount, of course. I suppressed a smile thinking about the real reason her Beverly Hills purchase had gone through so smoothly. The anonymous investment firm that had partnered with her, Sterling Capital Partners, was one of my many shell companies. I'm comfortable where I am, I said quietly, watching my 9-year-old nephew Tommy play with his new iPad. Another status symbol in a house full of them. Comfortable? My father lowered his Wall Street Journal. Son, you manage a bookstore. Your sister is a real estate mogul. Your mother and I built an empire. The Anderson name used to mean something. If they only knew that their precious family name was now attached to billions in assets, just not in the way they thought. While they bragged about Victoria's small-time real estate deals, I had quietly built one of the largest property investment firms on the West Coast. Did you at least consider that job offer from Uncle Robert? My mother pressed. Vice president position, 6 figures. I'm happy at the bookstore, I repeated. The store was actually one of my first purchases. A beloved local institution I'd saved from bankruptcy 5 years ago. It served as the perfect cover while I built my real empire. Victoria's husband Derek strode in, brandishing his phone. Just closed another deal. 30 units in Marina del Rey. That makes 5 properties this year. 6, Victoria corrected proudly. Don't forget that cute little complex in Pasadena. I remembered that one too. Sterling Capital had quietly provided the bridge financing when her original lender backed out. She still had no idea she'd been rescued by her failing brother. Speaking of property, my mother set down her wine glass. The Hendersons next door are selling. Beautiful house, only $4 million. We could help with the down payment, Michael. It's time you lived in a proper neighborhood. Mother, I can't afford a $4 million house on a bookstore manager's salary. That's exactly my point. She threw up her hands. You had every advantage, private schools, Harvard Business School, connections. And what do? Waste it all to play shopkeeper. The irony was almost painful. My Harvard business education had been put to excellent use, just not in ways they could see. Sterling Capital Partners had just closed our largest deal yet. A $2.7 billion portfolio of luxury properties across 3 states. Maybe it's time, Victoria suggested, her voice dripping with condescension, that you let me teach you the real estate business. Start small, learn the basics. I thought about the meeting I had tomorrow with sovereign wealth fund managers interested in backing Sterling's next $5 billion in acquisitions. The basics indeed. You can't even afford a decent apartment, my mother suddenly announced, loud enough to make Tommy look up from his iPad. It's embarrassing. The cleaning lady lives in a better building than you do. I could have ended it right there. One phone call would have revealed everything. The true ownership of Sterling Capital, the vast portfolio, the fact that I owned the building they were sitting in. But timing was everything. Perhaps you're right, I said mildly, standing up. I should head home. Early day at the store tomorrow. Running away as usual, my father muttered. The drive home in my carefully chosen older Toyota was peaceful. I bypassed my small apartment, the one they all pitied me for, and headed to my real home, a penthouse in one of my downtown buildings. The security guard nodded respectfully as I entered. Here everyone knew who I really was. Mr. Anderson, my assistant Sarah greeted me in the private elevator. The Singapore investors confirmed for tomorrow's meeting, and the paperwork for the new acquisition is ready. Thank you. How's the Henderson deal progressing? She smiled. We'll own your parents' entire street by next month. The holding company's offer was accepted this morning. I poured myself a scotch and looked out over the city, my city, in many ways. Sterling Capital owned or controlled significant portions of the most prestigious neighborhoods. The light snow falling outside made the view even more spectacular. My phone buzzed, A text from Victoria, that job offer from Uncle Robert is still open. Please consider it. Can't bear to see you waste your life like this. I opened my laptop and pulled up the Sterling Capital portfolio. Tomorrow's meeting would add another billion in assets under management. The failing brother had built something none of them could imagine. Another text, this time from my mother. The Hendersons' realtor is a friend. I've arranged a viewing for you tomorrow. Don't embarrass me by showing up in that awful Toyota. I looked at the Hendersons' property file on my desk. The purchase would be completed through one of my shell companies, then leased back to them at a generous rate. They were good neighbors after all. My secure phone line rang, the one used only for major business. Mr. Sterling, my chief financial officer's voice was crisp. The market analysis you requested is complete. If we move now, we can acquire the entire Marina del Rey portfolio before your sister's company realizes it's in play. I thought about Victoria's proud announcement of her small Marina del Rey purchase. She had no idea she'd just stumbled into the middle of a billion-dollar acquisition strategy. Proceed, I said. But maintain the usual protocols. No connection to Sterling Capital can be visible. Of course, sir, and the other matter. Yes, execute that as well. The other matter was a carefully planned revelation. Tomorrow's real estate journal would announce Sterling Capital's emergence from the shadows, a profile of the mysterious firm that had quietly become one of the largest property owners on the West Coast. I opened my real estate database, luxury buildings, commercial properties, entire city blocks owned through a maze of corporations and trusts. Sterling Capital Partners had grown from a small investment firm to a multi-billion-dollar empire, all while my family thought I was struggling to pay rent. A final text from my mother. Dinner on Sunday. Your sister is announcing her new development project. Try to dress appropriately for once. The development project she was referring to, Victoria's biggest deal yet, was actually one of my smaller holdings. She'd been negotiating for months with what she thought was a Japanese investment firm. Next week she'd learn it was just another Sterling Capital subsidiary. I checked the security feeds from my various properties. The bookstore was closing up for the night. I did actually enjoy working there once a week, helping people discover new books. My cover story wasn't entirely fiction. Tomorrow would change everything. The carefully maintained facade would crumble. The family that had dismissed me would learn what I'd built while they were busy bragging about their small victories. I pulled up the file for tomorrow's meeting. The Sovereign Wealth Fund was preparing to invest $3 billion in Sterling's next phase of expansion. My father's entire business empire could fit into one of our smaller divisions. A message from Sarah popped up on my screen. Your mother called the bookstore again. She's insisting you attend a financial planning seminar. I had to laugh. The seminar was being hosted by one of my companies, in a building I owned. The stage was set. In less than 24 hours, the real estate world would learn about Sterling Capital's true scope, and my family would discover that their failing son owned half the buildings they admired. But tonight, I would sleep in my penthouse, look out over my city, and remember that the best revenge isn't about money. It's about proving them wrong in ways they never imagined possible. The morning headlines were already creating waves when I arrived at the Four Seasons for the Sovereign Wealth Fund meeting. Mystery billionaire behind Sterling Capital revealed, screamed the Wall Street Journal. Real estate's silent emperor. The Sterling Capital story, declared the Financial Times. My phone had been buzzing since dawn. Victoria had called 12 times. My mother's text messages grew increasingly frantic. Michael, do you know anything about this Sterling Capital? They own the Henderson house, and half of Marina del Rey. I adjusted my bespoke Tom Ford suit. No more worn jeans today, and entered the private conference room where Sarah waited with the Singapore investors. Mr. Anderson, Mr. Chen, the head of the sovereign fund, stood to greet me. Or should I say Mr. Sterling? Quite the morning for revelations. Indeed, I smiled, shaking his hand. Shall we discuss that $3 billion investment? 2 hours later, as I signed the final documents securing the largest private equity real estate deal of the year, my mother's name flashed on my phone again. This time, I answered. Michael, have you seen the news? That building you're living in, it's owned by Sterling Capital. You could be evicted. And Victoria is hysterical. Apparently this sterling firm owns most of her portfolio. They could ruin her. Mother, I said calmly, I'm actually in a meeting with Sterling Capital right now. Perhaps you and father should join us at the Four Seasons. Bring Victoria and Derek. You're what? The Four Seasons, in those awful clothes of yours? I think you'll find my attire appropriate. Penthouse conference room, 1 hour. I ended the call and turned to Sarah. Please ensure the family portfolio presentation is ready. It's time for the grand reveal. The next hour passed quickly as we finalized details with the Singapore team. As they left, my family arrived. Mother in Chanel, father in his custom suits, Victoria and Derek looking like they'd stepped out of a luxury magazine. They stopped short when they saw me in my Tom Ford suit, sitting at the head of the conference table. Michael, my mother's voice was uncertain. What are you doing here? Where are the Sterling Capital people? Sit down, I said quietly. Sarah, please bring up the portfolio overview. The massive screen behind me lit up with Sterling Capital's asset list. Buildings, developments, entire city blocks scrolled past. Total portfolio value $12.7 billion, Sarah announced professionally. With today's sovereign wealth fund investment projected to reach $18 billion by end of next quarter. Victoria's face had gone pale. These properties, these are all the buildings I've been trying to acquire. The Japanese investors, the European fund, all Sterling Capital subsidiaries. I confirmed. Just like the holding company that owns your Beverly Hills complex. I don't understand, my father said, his voice uncharacteristically small. You run a bookstore. I own a bookstore, I corrected. I also own Sterling Capital Partners. Every property you see on that screen, every development deal, every acquisition, that's all me. My mother collapsed into a chair, her perfectly manicured hand at her throat. You're the mystery billionaire everyone's talking about. Current net worth approximately $8.4 billion. Sarah provided helpfully, making Mr. Anderson one of the largest individual real estate investors in the country. Derek was frantically checking his phone. The Henderson House, the Marina del Rey portfolio, even our building, all Sterling Capital properties, I confirmed. Though you can keep managing your small portfolio, Victoria. You're actually quite good at operations. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. All this time, when I was bragging about my deals, you were playing in my sandbox without knowing it. I finished. Those favorable loans, the mysteriously smooth closings, the convenient partnership opportunities, all orchestrated to help my sister succeed, even if she didn't know it. My father had been silently studying the portfolio display. The Anderson building downtown, my company's headquarters, purchased through a shell corporation last year. I nodded. Don't worry about the rent increase notice you received yesterday. We can discuss more favorable terms. But why? My mother burst out. Why live in that awful apartment? Drive that terrible car? Let us think you were failing. I stood and walked to the window, looking out over the city I partly owned. Because you taught me an important lesson. People reveal their true nature when they think you're beneath them. The silence in the room was deafening. Every condescending comment about my career choice, every mockery of my lifestyle, every comparison to Victoria's successes, it all showed me exactly who you really were. And the bookstore, Victoria asked quietly, is profitable, brings joy to the community, and provides the perfect cover for my larger operations. Not everything is about maximizing returns. Sarah entered with a new set of documents. The Henderson Street acquisition is complete, sir. You now own the entire block. My mother's wine glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Our neighborhood, you own our neighborhood, along with most of the premium real estate in the city, I confirmed. Though you can keep your house, of course. I'm not entirely heartless. Son, my father stood straightening his tie. We may have underestimated you. May have. I raised an eyebrow. Last Christmas you said I was wasting my Harvard education. I was finalizing a $2 billion acquisition that day. Victoria was still scrolling through Sterling Capital's portfolio on her phone. The Japanese firm I've been negotiating with for the downtown development has a meeting with its real owner this afternoon. I smiled. That would be me. Your proposal is actually quite good, by the way. Mr. Anderson, Sarah interrupted. The press is requesting comments about the sovereign wealth fund investment and your sister's development project. I straightened my tie. Tell them Sterling Capital's founder will be making a statement this afternoon, and Victoria Anderson will be announced as our new head of regional operations. Victoria's head snapped up. What? You're good at what you do, I said simply. Now you can do it with proper backing, if you want the job. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. As for you, I turned to my parents. Sterling Capital's charitable foundation could use some experienced trustees. If you're interested in doing something meaningful with your time. My mother was still staring at the portfolio display. All those times we pushed you to do better. I was doing just fine, I finished. Now shall we discuss the future of Anderson Real Estate over lunch? I believe I can get us a good table downstairs. I own the hotel. As we rode the elevator down, my father cleared his throat. The Toyota is parked next to my Bentley in the garage. Sometimes the best deals come from people who underestimate you. The maitre d' rushed to greet us. Mr. Anderson, your usual table is ready. My mother watched in amazement as the hotel staff treated me with the deference she'd always craved. All this time, success isn't about being seen, I said quietly. It's about seeing clearly. You taught me that, even if you didn't mean to. As we sat down to lunch, I could see my family struggling to reconcile their image of the failing son with the reality of who I'd become. Sometimes the best revenge isn't in the revelation, it's in watching people confront their own prejudices. About Christmas dinner this year, my mother began tentatively. We'll be at my penthouse, I finished. The real one, not the apartment you love to criticize, though the Toyota will probably still make an appearance. Some lessons, after all, are worth keeping. The next month brought changes I hadn't entirely anticipated. Victoria threw herself into her new role at Sterling Capital with characteristic intensity, but now tempered by humility. She'd moved her office into our headquarters, spending hours studying our investment strategies and operational procedures. The scale of what you built, she said one evening reviewing a portfolio analysis. It's staggering, Michael. While I was bragging about million-dollar deals, you were moving billions. I was working late. Something my family now understood wasn't about managing a bookstore's inventory. The best deals are the ones nobody sees coming. Like the Marina del Rey acquisition. She smiled wryly. I thought I was so clever with my little 30-unit purchase, which you managed excellently. I pointed out, there's a reason I offered you the operations position. False modesty doesn't suit you, Vic. She looked up, startled by the childhood nickname. You haven't called me that since before I became the successful one. You're still successful, I said, signing off on a new development proposal, just with a better understanding of scale. Our parents had taken longer to adjust. Mother had initially tried to reassert control by throwing a lavish party to introduce her successful son to society. I'd declined, suggesting instead that she focus on the educational initiative our foundation was launching. But people should know, she'd protested. The Four Seasons staff treats you like royalty. That should be happening everywhere. Mother, I own the Four Seasons. They're being professional, not impressed by social status. She'd fallen silent, another piece of the puzzle clicking into place. Father had taken a different approach. He'd shown up at my office with decades of business records, eager to share his expertise. Son, with my experience in real estate, he'd begun. Dad, I'd interrupted gently. Your entire portfolio would fit into one of our smaller holding companies. Perhaps we should discuss your role with the foundation instead. Now, a month later, they'd both found their footing. Mother had discovered a genuine passion for educational philanthropy, while Father's business acumen had proven valuable in vetting scholarship applications. Mr. Anderson, Sarah interrupted my thoughts. Your parents have arrived for the foundation meeting, and the contractors need final approval on the Henderson Street renovations. I pulled up the plans. The entire street was being subtly upgraded, though my parents' neighbors remained unaware of their new landlord's identity. Michael, Mother swept in, elegant as always but somehow softer. The scholarship committee has identified 50 promising students from underprivileged backgrounds. If we could review the funding, already approved, I said, pulling up the documents, along with the mentorship program Victoria suggested. My sister looked up from her work, the one connecting scholarship recipients with business leaders. You approved it? It's an excellent initiative. Unlike the society gala Mother wanted to throw. That was before I understood. Mother said quietly, success isn't about being seen. You taught me that. Father arrived with his trademark Wall Street Journal, but now he carried it differently, less like a shield, more like actual reading material. The Singapore investment is making waves, he commented, though not as many as your continued use of that Toyota. I smiled. The Toyota stays. It's a reminder of what we did wrong, Mother said softly, of what you taught me about perception and reality. I corrected. Every time you criticized my car, my apartment, my career, you showed me the difference between appearing successful and being successful. Victoria closed her laptop. The development project downtown, the one I thought I was negotiating with Japanese investors. Board meeting tomorrow at 9. I confirmed. You'll present the final proposal. As head of operations, she said wonderingly. Still feels surreal. Imposter syndrome from the mighty Victoria. I teased. The world really has changed. Mother was reviewing the scholarship applications. This student, brilliant math skills, working part-time to support her family, reminds me of someone. I wasn't supporting a family, I pointed out. No, you were building an empire while we thought you were struggling. I'm not sure which is more impressive. Sarah appeared with fresh coffee and updated market reports. The Sterling Capital logo caught Father's eye. Why Sterling? He asked suddenly. Why not use the Anderson name? Because I wanted to succeed or fail on my own merits, I said, not trade on the family name. And now? Victoria asked. Now the Anderson name means something different. I smiled. Thanks to your operations expertise and our parents' foundation work, Mother set down the scholarship applications. The Christmas party will still be at my penthouse, I confirmed, though perhaps with less criticism of my lifestyle choices. They had the grace to look embarrassed. The Henderson house renovation plans need your approval, Sarah reminded me. I pulled up the designs. What do you think, Vic? You have experience with this type of property. She studied the plans carefully, professionally. The upgrades are subtle but significant. Property values will increase without pricing out current residents. Very. You, speaking of property values, Father cleared his throat. Your old apartment building is being converted to subsidized housing for scholarship recipients and their families. I finished. Not every property needs to maximize profit. Mother's eyes widened. The building you let us criticize for years will now help underprivileged students. Poetic justice, Victoria commented, like my discovering I'd been playing in your sandbox all along. Sarah brought in more documents for signing property deeds, development permits, foundation paperwork. My family watched in fascination as billions in assets moved with a few signatures. All those times we worried about your future, Mother mused, were exactly what I needed. I said, every criticism, every comparison, every condescending comment showed me what kind of success I didn't want. And the success you did want? Father asked. I gestured to the foundation documents, the scholarship applications, the development plans that would improve communities without displacing them. This kind, the kind that builds something meaningful while everyone's busy keeping up appearances. Victoria stood to leave, gathering her files. Board meeting tomorrow at 9. Should I bring the market analysis? Already reviewed it, I said. Just bring your expertise and maybe leave the designer labels at home. She laughed. A real laugh, not the society titter she'd cultivated. The mighty have fallen. Now I'm taking fashion advice from my formerly unfashionable brother. The Toyota stays, I reminded everyone. Some habits are worth keeping. As they left my office, I looked out over the city skyline. Sterling Capital's buildings dotted the landscape, each one a testament to the power of being underestimated. Sarah brought in one final document, the Henderson Street property deed. I signed it, officially becoming my parents' landlord. Should we tell the neighbors? She asked. Let them keep thinking what they think, I said. Sometimes the best success is invisible.
Shoo shoo.
Like the billions behind my bookstore job. Like the empire behind my Toyota. Like the power of being underestimated. Some lessons, after all, are priceless. The Christmas party at my penthouse was nothing like my family expected. No extravagant decorations. No army of servants. No obvious displays of wealth. Just tasteful elegance. Comfortable furniture, and floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the city lights below. Is that? Mother paused at a painting. An original Rothko. Yes, I said simply. But more importantly, look at the student artwork next to it. The adjacent wall featured paintings from our scholarship recipients. Brilliant raw talent that would now have the chance to flourish. Mother studied them with genuine interest, her appreciation for true value finally extending beyond designer labels and social status. Victoria arrived with her team from Sterling Capital. She'd embraced her role with unexpected grace, trading power suits for simple professional attire, focusing on results rather than appearances. The downtown development project broke ground today, she announced, on schedule and under budget. Because you actually read the engineering reports instead of just the social impact statements, I noted with approval. Father was in the library, examining my collection. First editions, he asked, carefully handling a volume. Some, I replied. But the real treasure is there. I pointed to the children's section, stocked with books for our scholarship students' families. The doorbell rang. Sarah showed in the Henderson family, our neighbors from my parents' street. Their faces registered shock at seeing the bookstore manager in such surroundings. Michael, Mrs. Henderson stuttered. You live here. Among other places, I smiled. How are you enjoying the renovations on your house? They're wonderful, but we never knew who to thank. The Sterling Capital representatives were very discreet. They're trained to be, Victoria interjected smoothly. Professional as always. We believe in quiet competence. The evening progressed with subtle revelations. My parents watched as CEOs, fund managers, and real estate moguls treated me with genuine respect. Not the fawning deference they'd always craved, but the authentic regard of equals. Your brother's Singapore investment was brilliant, I overheard one telling Victoria. Changed the whole market dynamic. She smiled. I learned something new from him every day, usually while he's driving that Toyota. Near midnight, as the party wound down, I found my family gathered in my private office. The wall of screens displayed Sterling Capital's portfolio, glowing silently with billions in assets. I understand now, Mother said quietly. Why you let us think you were struggling. Why you kept the bookstore. Why you still drive that car. Do you? I asked, genuinely curious. You wanted to know who people really were, Father answered. How they'd treat you without the trappings of wealth. Clothes, I said. I wanted to build something real, something based on value, not appearances. Every criticism you made pushed me to create something meaningful instead of just impressive. Victoria was examining a photo on my desk, the original bookstore on the day I bought it. Your first acquisition, she mused. While we were all bragging about luxury condos, you were saving a neighborhood institution, which turned a profit, I reminded her. Just not the kind that shows up at society parties. Speaking of profit, Father began, then stopped himself. No, never mind. You clearly know what you're doing. The Toyota stays, I said, making them all laugh. Sarah appeared with final reports for the day. The Foundation's educational initiative launches next week, and the Henderson Street Community Center plans are ready for review. Community Center? Mother asked. The basement of your building, I explained. Every property should serve its community, not just its balance sheet. They absorbed this, understanding finally settling in. The failing sun had built something beyond their imagination, not just in scale, but in purpose. Next Christmas, Victoria said suddenly, let's do it at the bookstore, after hours, with the scholarship students and their families. Mother's eyes widened, then softened. Yes, she said, with books as gifts, not just status symbols. And maybe, Father added with a smile, you could drive the Toyota. I looked out at my city, A city I owned substantial parts of but saw as a community, rather than a portfolio. Success isn't about what you have, I said quietly. It's about what you build. They joined me at the window, seeing the skyline differently now. Each building represented not just an asset, but an opportunity to create value, real value, not just financial returns. The best investment, I continued, is in things that don't show up on balance sheets, like integrity, understanding, purpose, and Toyota maintenance, Victoria added, making us all laugh again. As they prepared to leave, Mother paused. Thank you, she said simply, for teaching us what we should have taught you. I watched them go, knowing something had fundamentally changed. Not because of the revealed wealth or the business empire, but because they finally understood. True success isn't about appearing successful. It's about being valuable. Sarah brought in one last document. Plans for next year's scholarship program, significantly expanded. The Toyota will need new tires soon, she noted with a smile. Some things, I said, signing the scholarship approvals are worth maintaining, like principles, like purpose, like the quiet satisfaction of building something meaningful while everyone else is busy keeping up appearances. After all, the best success stories are the ones you don't have to tell. They show themselves in the lives you change, the values you maintain, and sometimes in the Toyota you keep driving even when you own the dealership. The end.